Most people hear the word Trinity and immediately think some kind of abstract theology, a church doctrine that no one understands, something disconnected from economics, politics, and real life. But here's the hidden reality. The Trinity may be the most politically and economically influential idea in human history. Because how society understood God determined how they understood authority, how they structured law, how they defined freedom, how society organized money, the financial system, and how we build technology like AI. Today, I want to show you what the Trinity actually is and how two different Trinitarian visions quietly build Eastern and Western politics, economics, and their power structures. This is not theology instead of economics. This is theology of economics, which is what this entire page really is about. So, let's start from beginning. What is the Trinity? At the most basic level, Christianity confesses one God in three persons: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. United without confusion, distinct without division. Not three gods, not one lonely monad. But why should this matter to us? The Trinity isn't answering who God is. It's answering what reality is and how the internal politics of God have been and are still applied into human economics and politics. East and the West drastically diverged on where to start, how to begin to describe reality, which form different societies and histories. But I think the differences will help us understand what really is at stake. So, East versus West. Two Trinitarian logics. In Eastern Orthodox theology, being itself is communion. That is, to exist is to be the relationship, and consequently in relationship. It's not a substance. God does not begin as power, substance, force. God is not a cosmic machine that produces persons. Father is the foundation of communion, the relationship itself, the first personal cause. Everything begins with this first cause by Him. He freely causes communion, which is their foundation of a personhood. This is extremely weird to Western thought and philosophy, especially analytical philosophy. That means communion is first and communion is personal in politics and economics. And freedom precedes structure. Unity must be voluntary, not built by structure or logic as is in the West. Being is not necessity, it is freedom. Vladimir Lasky. So what does this look like in real life? Authority tends to be local. Councils matter more than central rule. Traditions matter more than theory. Experience matters more than abstraction or overly theorizing, like within exploratory science. Think of small community life, church councils, extended families, personal trust network instead of a business network. Giving someone your word is more important than contracts. That type of idea. These societies are obviously harder to scale, but deeply human and meaningful. Now, to the Western tradition, and American Protestants are mostly part of that. This is where God begins with one substance or one essence, a thing or it. He is separate. He is holy. You may have heard that one in your local church. I certainly have. Unity becomes simply necessary. Otherwise, phenomenon like love cannot be explained. Persons exist within that unity, the perfect unity of love. Another phrase that may have been thrown around in your local congregation. Logically and structurally, that leads to essence before persons, order before freedom, structure before communion. As Thomas Aquinas stated, God is simple substance. Relations do not divide essence. This is drastically different description of reality in comparison to Eastern Orthodox one. Now, What does this look like practically? This produces a highly individualistic society. My way or the highway. I'm sure you know what I mean. This stems from one, the idea of separate substance, and two, having persons under law and structure instead of communion, which promotes personal responsibility and growth instead of communion. Again, law is required to unite society, which makes institutions more important than relationships, such as church structure, corporations, social clubs, and so on. Where systems outlive individuals, and judicial system is a neutral arbiter instead of a reconciler. This is why the West excels at organized bureaucracy, contracts, corporations, scalable systems like mass production, AI, stock exchange, Fed. And finally, frontier and exploratory sciences where theorizing, speculation, and abstraction are a priority. All of this is contrary to experience and communion of Orthodox life. This in particular is visible through history where the West moved faster than the East in less 1,000 years because it was built on top of abstract thinking, which leads to organization where personal growth is demanded if you are to be successful. So, it's not accidental. It's Trinitarian logic translated into society. Obviously, there's quite a bit of variations in the way society is translated into politics, culture, and everyday life. Yet, this is the deepest divide between the East and the West, Latin and social Trinitarians. Finally, even though everyday Christians do borrow ideas from each side, nevertheless, this does outline the boundaries. And it's important to see full spectrum, a bird's eye view, to understand why is our society structured the way it is and why is it different from other societies. I know this barely scratches the surface of how deeply Trinitarian theology has influenced politics and history, but we have to start somewhere. So let's leave with this. As God is understood, so society becomes.